Hi, my name is Josh Fearling with Parathon, and we're going to talk about how to guarantee contract negotiations increase net patient revenue by giving up incomplete modeling strategies. So I'm going to get into some depth on this subject and go step by step on how to do this and how to ensure it increases net patient revenue. So I think it's important to discuss who this presentation is for. So it's definitely for the hospital CFO or managed care executive. It could even be for the revenue cycle executive or the PFS executive, especially if they provide some of the data that is needed to model or if they're involved in net patient revenue. A great example is Cameron Wilson, who's the director of payer contracts for HONORHEALTH. We've worked for Cameron for a while now, and as you can see, he's been very impressed with the flexibility of our system and how accurate it is to include increasing net patient revenue. So really good relationship with Cameron, and he's a great example of who this presentation could be for. So let's talk about if you're facing these obstacles, because I think it's really important that if you're even facing one of these obstacles, then this presentation is definitely for you. So do you have lower net patient revenue, or are you expecting lower net patient revenue? If that's the case, then there's nothing better than doing accurate modeling to increase net patient revenue. Are you suspicious of your payers? Are you unsure maybe about a contract negotiation or what the net revenue impact of a negotiation is? Maybe they say it's 4%, but in reality, it's negative 2%. We see stuff like that all the time. And do you want to ensure the upper hand in any one of your negotiations? So we're going to get into some depth, but really quick, this is just a snapshot of some of our clients. We have done over 400 installs. We have great retention rates with our clients, and a lot of clients have been with us for a long time. So let's get into it. So from a high level, what separates us from other modeling software is our ability to adjudicate 100% of the contracts. This is not happening in the traditional EHR Snap-on modules or other Snap-on modules. They just can't get this sophisticated. We have a very large managed care department with people from all walks of the payer life that include us loading these contracts and ensuring that we adjudicate 100% of the contracts. So now let's get a little bit deeper and discuss how do we determine the accurate value of a contract. Very important, because a lot of today what's done is high-level analysis, which is good, but obviously when it's not complete, you're not going to guarantee that you can show that lift in net patient revenue. So first and foremost, you have to be able to model against a variety of claim sets. Very important. You got to be able to create claim sets to model against. Whether you're going back a year or a few months, you got to create the proper claims to model against. You also, as we discussed, you have to be able to adjudicate at a very high level. So as we discussed, we have the 100-100 guarantee, but you have to be able to adjudicate at a real high level for a modeling to determine the accurate value of a model in a contract. You want quantified data, not anecdotal information, so you want to make sure it's quantified and useful. At the end of the day, you really want to determine the bottom line impact of a contract, how it's going to really affect negotiations, what's going to happen with future negotiations. You just want to ensure that you always have an upper hand in any type of modeling you're doing, whether it's price sensitivity, negotiations, or settlements. You got to make sure your data is conclusive. And first and foremost, that comes down to being able to determine the accurate value of a contract and being able to hit all these bullet points. Now let's get into the actual steps to be able to create a lift in net patient revenue, or to be able to model for certain things that you're interested in digging deeper into. So as we discussed, step one is claim creation. You have to be able to create claims. In Parathon, we're able to create HCFA or UB claims. The most common ways, though, of creating claims are you can create claims from model sets. You can create claims from production claims where there's all types of filters, so you can isolate based on facility, payer, date, codes, etc. You can create claims where there's different percentages that can be charged, or finally, you can create claims from the account history. But to do this, we would need a detailed, a charge detail master with that. So step one, you have to be able to create claims. Again, we're talking about modeling accurately to create a verifiable lift in net patient revenue. Step two is then you have to be able to adjust that claim data. So that could be looking at a particular percentage of Medicare. It could be taking a year's worth of prior claims and bumping up the dates. You could be looking at 2-year periods, percentage of charge thresholds, all the standard adjustments that are needed, CPT codes, DRG types and versions. You have to adjust the data for whatever your end goal is in the modeling. So that's step number 2. If you cannot do this, then you have a huge problem in terms of having a verifiable net patient revenue lift. Finally, you select the proposed rate depending on what you're modeling, right? This could be along with Medicare or Medicaid. We have a very extensive calculation library, so we can really do anything that fits any type of modeling. But the final step is kind of what is that proposed rate you're looking at in whatever modeling scenario you're looking at. And so now it's all about increasing revenue. So what are the different types of increases in revenue? Now we talked about a lift in net patient revenue, but certainly there's a lot of options here. You can identify revenue code increases and decreases. You can look at the sensitivity of targeted CDM increases, right? You could have, as we discussed, a negotiation coming up, and you want to know conclusively what is the bottom line impact of that negotiation on net patient revenue. So you can tailor those negotiation strategies to maximize the reimbursement. Again, you would use those same 3 steps, and we're talking about very detailed data, conclusive data. You can compare detailed claim level information. You can look at changes in liquidity. You can look at what happens when you increase or decrease certain things. Another big one is EAPG, TRICARE, or modeling using Medicare. These new payment methodologies, there's a lot of confusion around these. You can model conclusively to increase revenue with these if you're looking at switching a payment methodology. So there's a whole lot of options here. The important part to come back to is, though, you want to do it accurately. You want to follow the 3 steps, and you want to ensure you can, at first, as a foundation, determine the accurate value of a contract conclusively. So what happens when you do that? So this is a snapshot of a high-level financial information from a hospital, and this is the types of results that you can see. Sure, there's other things that are involved in these types of metrics, but modeling is very important in regards to these metrics. And as you can see, over the last 4 or 5 years here, everything is going in the right direction, whether it's cash on hand, long-term debt, cash to debt, everything is moving in the right direction. And that's particularly because of sophisticated modeling clients that use conclusive data to model. If you want to get more specifics on just modeling for net patient revenue increases, we have 3 examples right here, and you can reach out to us and we can send you case studies on any one of these examples where we get into the details. But as you can see, ROI is very high. We saw a lift in net patient revenue over 12 months. And the first one, $6 million. Second one, almost $8 million. The third one, $4.5 million. So it's a conclusive lift in net patient revenue. So thank you very much for joining this presentation, and please reach out to us with any questions you may have.